Hello and welcome to the Profitable Coach podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Rich, head coach at Transformation Academy. From seasoned experts sharing their hard-earned wisdom to rising stars navigating their journey, every episode uncovers the stories, strategies, and lessons behind what it takes to create massive impact and income as a coach. This show is brought to you by Transformation Academy and the Impact Coaching Collective. If you're ready to be inspired, take action, and build the coaching business of your dreams, well, then you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to episode 74 of the Profitable Coach podcast. I am thrilled to bring back one of my favorite guests, one of my favorite humans, and that is Paige Harris-Clark. Paige is a hypnotherapist. She is a retreat host. She is a magnificent coach and a body worker. She really does it all, which you will learn about in today's episode as we talk about the superpowers of being an Enneagram 7, the superpowers of having ADHD in entrepreneurship, and how to really look at all of the different facets of your personality as just that, a superpower. How to leverage the things that you're good at, how to outsource the things that you're not, how to borrow from people who excel in areas that you struggle, and really how to release any shame around whatever labels you have placed on yourself or society has placed on you over the years, so that you really, truly can excel as a coach, as a business owner, and as a human. So if that is something that you're excited to dive into, I won't waste any more of your time. Please welcome my favorite person, the one and only Paige Clark. Hello, and welcome back to the Profitable Coach podcast. I am so excited to be joined by my dear friend and returning guest, Paige Harris-Clark. Hi, Paigey.
Hi. Glad to be back.
So this is an extra special treat because Paige and I just got to have a really beautiful reunion in Medellin, Colombia. And as we were chatting, I was like, we need to bring you back on the show and do a repeat episode, but dive into a topic that is near and dear to your heart and something that comes up with a lot of my clients, which is how to run a business, how to be an entrepreneur when you identify as having ADHD. So tell me how this particular topic came into your world as of lately, because I know it's been like a really hot topic recently.
Yeah, well, I've just been thinking there's so many entrepreneurs who I work with, mostly entrepreneurs and business owners and these creatives and people that are, and we're really just figuring out how to navigate this world of cell phones and technology and everything else that's literally breeding ADHD. And so whether you originally had it and are a creative and have all the superpowers of ADHD and thus are an entrepreneur, or you're an entrepreneur and just struggling with being on planet Earth right now, where there's so much of this distraction and reasons for procrastination or whatever it is that feels like ADHD, which is just a difficulty in focusing, right?
Yeah.
On the topic. And also this, I feel like there's a desire for the variety and for spontaneity and for that kind of thing. And just, I guess I thought of it because of the moment in time when we were on the phone and I was like, I'm going to Medellin. And then our friend's like, I'm there. And my ADHD is like, I didn't pick up on that. Like, I'm just, all this information's coming at me. And she's like, how did you not know I'm not in Medellin? But I didn't. And I'm heading there. And then you're like, I'm coming. And so there's this excitement and there's this yes energy with the ADHD person, right? And so how do we navigate it where we honor the superpowers that we have with it and honor who we are on the planet, and also create the structures and the systems and the success building skills so that we do get what we actually do want, which is what happens when you do those things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So first, let's just kind of highlight some of what this experience might be like for people. Because I was just talking to a one-on-one client about it this past week. She's like, I'm in this new phase where I'm not letting the manic energy kick in, where I get hyper focused on something and I'm really excited about it. And I stay up till 2 a.m. working on it. And I don't really take care of myself. She's like, I'm really trying to move away from that. But by moving away from that, I feel a little numb, a little like dull and bored. And so it's this really interesting conversation because on one hand, I'm like, well, there's a book called The Hypomanic Edge, which talks about the fact that a lot of entrepreneurs have this tinge of mania, which is what sets them apart from the average person and what lets them succeed. So we don't actually want to shame it. However, if you're not being healthy, if you're not feeding yourself, if you're not resourcing yourself, then there is an invitation there to reevaluate and to recalibrate. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, and then we can dive in deeper.
Yeah, I just this morning, I was actually going through creating a morning routine and stuff with one of my clients. And I was explaining how, because I'm this way, and over 20 years of figuring out how to do this for myself, is realizing that creating systems with the flexibility for spontaneity and for change, and I really don't do any one day the exact same. And I know some people that do, but that's just not, it doesn't even feed my soul if I were to. It'd be like being on a all chicken diet or something. You know, it's just like, no, but like my soul is screaming for so much more. And so what I've done is I've figured out how to have a morning routine that is either 5 minutes or 5 hours. Like it depends on if I'm in Hawaii on the beach, I can spend 5 hours doing a morning routine that just fills my soul and all those things that I wanted to do each morning, but didn't have time. But then on another day, I make sure that I just get my 5 rocks in. I make sure that I am absolutely dedicated to my routine of meditation and visualization and exercise and reading and writing and calendaring and those kind of things. I have to get those in, but I can do it in 30 seconds or I can do it in, 45 minutes. And so that's the kind of thing I would schedule when I was a young mom, I would schedule to do 5 meals each week that I would plan the dinners, but I would give myself the flexibility. I'm maybe going to do the chicken on Monday, or maybe I'm going to do the, the tacos on Thursday, but then last minute I'll switch. Right. And so there's some structure, and yet there's this space for spontaneity and the
versatility.
Versatility, exactly. And it kind of makes me think of traveling, right? Where I love to have just one activity planned and then leave space for serendipity, right? And that the serendipitous moment of being on that hike that I planned, but then deciding to go down and find that waterfall there's a sign that says to go to the left, is what creates the magic and the most like incredible moments of the trip. But if I'm too stuck on the structure, then I'll miss that. But if I'm too much just like, let's just do whatever we want today, then nothing happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 100%. And I think that there's also an element of like masculine feminine dynamics here. It's like having the masculine structure, some sort of plan in place, actually allows the feminine, free-flowing, expressive, creative, playful, spontaneous side of you to have a container in which she can express. And this is not gender specific. We all have both, but really knowing that you can't have the freedom of one without the discipline of the other. And so in terms of designing our business, how can we build in systems that create more freedom versus having only chaotic, spontaneous, moment to moment reactive sort of implementation? So I'm curious, what are some of the structures and systems that you've implemented in your business or for your clients?
Yeah, so just today we were talking about the Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. He has the 4 quadrants, right? So really just looking at your life and seeing what activities fit into each one and prioritizing those quadrant to the not urgent but important activities, and then creating structure for that, creating habits, right? Oftentimes with my clients, I'll just challenge them to just commit to the week, right? Just add this one thing, create the habit, and add that daily affirmation and visualization, and start programming your mind every single day, and then see how we can add the next thing, right? And so it's creating habits, habit stacking, all the things that work there. Of course, in for every person, it's so different, right? So in hypnotherapy, it's beautiful when they go in and they really find what their soul is calling for, or what the perfect morning looks for them, or what they're reaching for. And then we break it down and say, okay, in order to do that, what's the one thing you'd have to do each day? And with access in that space of hypnotherapy where they can access their whole entire subconscious, just the answers come so quickly and so beautifully that it's like, oh, I would have never thought of that. But that's the exact thing that they need in order to live their best life, right?
I love that. Yeah, this concept of taking it 1 week at a time feels really powerful and more accessible. What are some other ways in which, as a mom, as an entrepreneur, you've been able to like wrangle, for lack of a better term, the ADHD energy and really like harness it?
Well, just to bring in the mom aspect, I think that motherhood breeds ADHD, right? Like as soon as you start a project, a child is going to come in, absolutely guaranteed 100% of the time, and just like interrupt. So if you need to have this laser focus you have to get a babysitter, but I didn't have a lot of that. And so it was just, it almost like bred this. I don't know. I think I got worse. and part of having a mother with ADHD, I'm realizing, also bred very flexible children, right? So one, just looking at it, and I've learned to really see it as a superpower and see it as like, oh, here's the gifts, and everything has pros and cons. So the fact that I could flow in and out of an activity and jump into one and do a little bit of this and then do a little bit of that, and I pick up everything along the way and keep the house clean by it's never like a focused hour of deep cleaning. It's just, oh, I'm going to clean the sink now, and then I'm going to run and like mop the floor because I have 5 minutes. And so everyone does it differently, I guess. And what's worked for me is just allowing myself and not going into the shame cycle of, oh, I should do it the way other people do it, right? So I have a friend who fundamentally does not have ADHD, and the way she did not even get ADHD with her children is she kept such a tight regimen and so much control in the environment that it was, the kids learned to just be very in alignment with her. Like her house always looked like it was ready for the parade of homes, And so, and her children aren't as flexible, right? So there's pros and cons to it all, but you can escape it. It just takes like a very, very strong personality, and it takes a very disciplined personality to not even succumb to what is in the environment right now with all of the phones and everything else that's creating this experience for us all.
Yeah, I think one of the big takeaways I have from what you just shared is, regardless of what we're uncovering about ourselves or recognizing about ourselves, not shaming it. So if we're noticing a lack of focus, or we're noticing that we work differently than others, or we're noticing that we work at a different pace than we think we quote unquote should, then really ditching any SH word, including shame, and just letting it be a noticing. It's like, okay, now that I've noticed it, what can I do with that information? What could I shift in the way that I'm showing up to my business, the way that I'm showing up to my partner, to my children, to align more with what I want to be creating? Or how do I shift what I'm creating to align more with how I work? and really just letting it all be data rather than anything that needs to change based on what we're seeing other people do. And I think that's a really important reminder for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are innately innovators. That's why they are going against the grain. So if an entrepreneur is trying to fit into a mold that they've seen someone else lay out, they're kind of going against the very nature of being an entrepreneur, of like carving their own path and doing it their way. So letting the labels of ADHD or whatever be, like you said, a superpower, a badge of honor, maybe.
Yeah. What if?
What if?
And we get more of what we focus on. And so if we focus on the superpowers of it, like there's all types of personalities. And, we love to geek out about the Enneagram, and we totally celebrate the 7, right?
Yeah, we
like
do.
we're like, oh yeah, the 7's the best, because we focus on all of the best attributes. Like the best, which is so literally 7. What a 7 says all the time. Like it's just like, but that is the energy of someone with ADHD as well, right? But if you look at it that way, then it's like, oh yeah, they're enthusiastic and they're creators and they're fun and they're playful and all of those things. And so focus on that. Yeah. Focus on what your superpowers are, and the other things that of course mitigate but the person that's totally regimented, they are incredible at getting things done and organizing and leading groups and doing corporate work and all of that. And they also are a bit anal retentive or narcissistic or whatever the negatives of that comes with. Just every personality comes with different pros and cons. And so celebrate where you can, and of course mitigate for what that is. And what I've found and how to mitigate is to use systems from other people. Like systems for me are not the easiest to create or follow. But if I find someone that I can watch, and like this friend of mine who's just incredible at systems, I've gotten most of my systems from her. I've gotten most of my amazing recipes from her. I have figured out how to parent. Like so many of the things that children need regimen and need structure. And so any structure my kids had was because of 2 friends that fundamentally do not have ADHD and are really, really good at that. Right. So I was like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. And let me get your chore chart. And what about this? And okay, this isn't working. And right. So of course, get coaching or figure out how to mitigate for it. But if I just focused on, oh, I'm terrible at this and they're so good at that, and their kids are going to be good and mine are going to be all screwed up, like that's not helpful either,
Yeah. No, I love this concept of not only focusing on what are the superpowers, but really trying to stay in that zone of genius. And anything that is not that zone of genius, either optimize it, automate it, outsource it, or borrow it from someone else, because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like if you're not great at creating a system, someone else, like you said, has already made that system. So go borrow it. And with things like AI now, there really is no reason that we should waste any time, and if ever again, trying to figure something out when an AI tool could tell us the best, quickest way, or could tell us who knows how to do it better, quicker, faster, cheaper. Like there's just no reason.
No, don't reinvent the wheel, and then don't shame yourself for not, what if with AI we're like, oh, I really should know that and I shouldn't have to use AI. Like we just don't, it's like, no, I'm not AI. I don't have instant access to billions of pieces of information at all times, but I know someone that does. Yeah. It's AI. So let's go there, right? It's the same thing. So, and I think this goes into like the theme of my retreat coming up is creating peace in the face of chaos, right? But it's recognizing, where are we in suffering? Where are we in these spiraling thoughts or these ruminating thoughts that are causing us suffering when we don't have to be in that space, right?
Mm.
What do we focus on so that we can be in peace or joy or playfulness or whatever your soul is craving? And out of that suffering and like, even when chaos is outside of us, we are creating so much chaos within ourselves with this making ourselves wrong and comparing and all the things that cause. But ultimately, like, I think that's a really cool definition of suffering is ruminating thoughts, right? It's
I've definitely had them.
right. And that's really what, if we could just have things happen and then not get stuck on them and keep ruminating, we would be out of suffering. It would just be like, okay, see that pass by, there's a cloud, but we don't. We go,
we hold on to the cloud.
That was hurtful. And now I'm going to think about it for 3 more days or 2 more years.
Yeah. I was like, greater than 3 days.
Yeah. You're like, 3 days is nothing.
Well, one thing that popped into my mind is, what do you think the difference for someone with ADHD is between chaos and lack of focus? Because I have the story that sometimes people who are in a really strong ADHD moment, their life can feel like chaos. But if they were able to reframe it, then they would be set free and they could see the multi interests, the multi, bids for attention as gifts rather than distortions and distractions.
Okay, I have the hack. This is like, it's so good. It's so good. The fact is there is chaos before new order. There is always going to be chaos before new order. Now, for instance, I love to cook. I love to cook for really big groups, like 20, 30, 40 people. I love it. It's like, there's so much chaos, right? I'm doing 5 meals at a time and I'm got the blender going while I have something cooking. Like, it's that kind of thing. It looks chaotic. And in that moment, there is chaos. There's stuff on the counter, the whole kitchen's, but like in the moment, when the meal's presented and the candles are lit and the napkins are folded and the flowers are all out and the charcuterie board looks like it dropped down from heaven or something. In that moment, there's a new order, right? There's this beautiful new order where something has been created that never has existed before. And so just honoring that fact. There is chaos before new order. Look at birth. Like, that is a chaotic moment right before that baby comes. And that is a lot of chaos where a body is stretching out and there's throwing up and there's all sorts of things before a baby is born, right? Any creation requires a level of chaos. If you look at a house being built, a renovation, right? Anything. And so as a creative, there is going to be chaos. And honoring that, going, yes, I'm in the chaos and there's going to be a new order. And this is in the personal development space. It's so beautiful to recognize that when someone's in chaos, like at my retreats, I just warn people, like, there's going to be a breakdown. There's going to be a point at the retreat where you are going to be like, or why did I even come? Or like, my life is so disastrous, right? But in that is where you get the support and all of the resources that you need and the breakthrough that's going to happen because you had that chaotic moment and showed the vulnerability and it comes up at the retreat because it wants to be cleared and solved and you need to be poured into. And so it's beautiful as a coach when you see someone kind of break down because you're like, oh, here's the chaos, like here's the breakdown, but I know what's on the other side because I've seen it 1,000 times now. And it's hard when you're in it and maybe a partner to someone that's in it or whatever, like it's not comfortable necessarily unless you go, oh, this is, if you can recognize it, right? That's the pattern.
So I'm hearing that the hack is knowing the process and being able to say, oh, we're right on time. We're right on path. Breakdown before breakthrough.
Yeah.
I knew this
Exactly.
was coming. In our Burning Man camp, the one that I've been a part of the past couple of years, we have what's called Midweek Meltdown. And it's, for anyone who's not familiar with Burning Man, it's a 10-day greater than life festival where an entire city is built up in the desert and people bring art and music and so many other contributions, and it's otherworldly, really is otherworldly. But it's 10 days in the desert and it's really challenging, and inevitably midweek people have a meltdown and they're fed up with the heat or the elements, or they're hungry or they're tired or whatever. And we would have this opportunity for people to come get on the microphone and just sort of air their grievances and like complain about whatever was happening during their burn that was just like really torturing them. And then they would dunk their head in a cooler. And it was like, I feel better. It's like, yeah, that was your meltdown. That was to be expected. It was right on time.
Totally. I love that so much. There's Tony Robbins talks about the process of transformation where it's unconscious incompetence. And then you move into conscious incompetence. And that's where the breakdown happens. You're like, what? Yeah. I didn't know this my whole life and I suck at it. Like, I don't know anything. I'm terrible at it. Like, it's the awareness, and it sucks. It sucks. And it's this like awareness of like, oh my gosh, I have 5 more days at Burning Man and already my heels are cracking and I'm dehydrated and I haven't slept for 3 days straight. Like, I'm going to die, you know?
People who are listening to this who have never been to Burning Man are like, what is
Why
this?
would you do that? Why would you do that? 100,000 people in the desert. Like, but it's
we were talking
so
about
real.
this last week in Colombia. You're like, every year. I'm like, that sounds terrible. And then I get there and I'm like, I love it.
It's so amazing. I know, I have massive resistance the whole year. I'm like, yeah, you guys go this time. But you can't not go because it's so epic.
I mean, it's epic because it's hard. Like, that's part of why we go, is because it's like crunchy and uncomfortable and expansive and unexpected and novel, and you have no idea who you're going to be on the other side of it. And there's something so powerful about that. And I think that is what entrepreneurship is. That's what trying to have a mission is you're just like, I can't not do this thing, but I also really want to quit sometimes.
Yeah, my friend just said, April, she's amazing. She's like, being an entrepreneur is like being on a constant treasure hunt where you're like, oh my gosh, this may be it. And you run and you sprint and you like go through all the obstacles and you get there and then you just get another hint, you know? And you're like, oh, okay, this must be it. And maybe you get like 1 gold coin to just be like, okay, there is a treasure at the end.
Yeah, there's breadcrumbs of a treasure.
Yeah, but there's something about just being on it. And I think we're just, part of it is the adventure, you know, and learning along the way and going, oh, I don't want to hit the bog next time. Like, yeah, it's really, I would also in Medellin, we were talking about how about monthly, maybe sometimes if it's a good month, I'll go like 2 months until I start searching for a job. Like, it hits enough chaos where I'm like, maybe I should just get someone else to pay me, you know? Rather than like having to go out and get more people into the retreats and more clients and then you get another client and it's like, oh, but this is just incredible to make a difference in someone's life and to do another session that just blows their mind open, or have 30 women come together and bond in a way they've never experienced before, you know? Like, you just have to keep doing it.
You have to. I was thinking this morning, I gave a 2-hour training on how to create a workshop that converts. And I was sharing on this training, like last week, I told you before we got online, Paige, I missed 2 nights of sleep because I had 2 red eyes in less than 7 days. I slept poorly because it was very loud and bright where I was. And yet all the while taking like a half week off of work, visiting friends, not sleeping, I had a new client sign for 6 months, pay in full. 3 new people jumped into my mastermind. And I'm like, the reason that people are being magnetized without me pushing, striving, forcing, stressing is because I'm just focused on what is in alignment. What is my intuition telling me is the F yes? Like going to Medellin was the hell yes decision, staying in alignment with what my soul desires and how I'm meant to serve in my very unique and Kim only kind of way is what magnetizes those people. And so for anyone listening who's like, oh, I'm trying to make it work, I'm trying to follow this system that someone else has, I'm trying to do this, it's like, stop trying. Stop trying. Just do the thing that makes you excited, do the thing that makes you feel of service and trust. And so I'm curious how you get yourself back to that place of trust when you do have those moments of chaos get you on the job hunt train.
Honestly, I look at jobs and I'm like, wait, I could get one client and have all the freedom and to be able to pick my kids up at school and go skiing and coach on the ski team and do all the things that my rich, amazing life gives me when I just, I think if I put that much effort into my own company, then I'm going to be fine. So I've come to realize that, and also expecting the cycle, right? Like, oh, I'm here again. And I'm going to just stay in this kind of like, victimhood for 30 minutes while I look at jobs, and then I'll come back out of it and I'll keep working, So expecting the cycle and recognizing, but it's also like, I keep thinking of the circle, the masculine, feminine dynamic that you talked about at the beginning, because it's such a perfect formula for the ADHD brain and for life in general and partnership and the feminine and all the things that say, give yourself the structure. Like, give myself, the better I structure things, the better I do keep my, my marketing. How do I keep my marketing consistent? Because it needs to be consistent. I schedule. I have my VA do it. I outsource that because I'm not going to get on at the same time and post ever. That's just not going to happen for me in the life that I live. And so I have to create the structure and the masculine container so that I can dance and play and be in all the magic that I'm in. And I do the same thing with my sessions, right? Like, someone comes in and it's a very structured system that I have for someone to come in and to feel held and to go deep into us at like the theta state and to be able to access their subconscious. And then we go into the dance, right? Then we go into the discovery and into what's there and where we can go next and what gifts are there and what presences can appear, right? But I can't do that unless I have the structure created at the beginning. Yeah. And so that's really the key to being an entrepreneur, having an ADHD, being a woman, being a human on planet Earth right now, I think is create the structure and then dance.
Yeah. And leveraging the resources, leveraging the parts that don't come naturally that other people can give to you, leveraging other people's mindset when yours falters because you're in that part of the cycle. So I mentioned before we jumped on the air, part of the reason that I was like, yeah, I need to go to Colombia, I need to see you guys, is because it's important for me to refill my mind with the thoughts and beliefs and stories that like make me an empowered person, that make me the most empowered version of myself. And sometimes it's easy to forget when you're surrounded by people that aren't saying those thoughts and beliefs, but you and our friend Frances are really good at them. And so it's like worth the couple $1,000s that I would spend to fly down there and be like, oh yes, I remember some of these universal truths. I remember some of the truths about who I am and what I'm meant to do and some of my strengths. I feel full. Like, we can go on our separate ways and not let it be another year and a half.
Never again. Never again. Yeah. And just the dance, right? Like, this is part of being the seven and remembering, and part of the power of travel for me, it just reminds me of the flow that's possible when I get to just allow for the serendipity and see the beautiful new things that inspire me and wake me up. Like, one of my favorite moments is when we had your birthday and the candle was there, and they had this crazy sparkler thing that was just like, it's like a mini firework that goes on for like 5 minutes or something. But your face was just like, like just this, the Kim face that just explodes with excitement and joy, and that face, when can we have that face more often, and what lights your soul up? Do that more, and know that that's part of, being us.
Yeah. And I think that it's really easy for people to get in the inertia of the everyday, and then they don't realize how many days, months, years have gone by since they've gotten to have that face, whatever their version of that face is. And it's like, I know, like, I've signed a covenant with myself. I understand it's my job. It's like literally part of my job to go find moments where I get to have that face, to go find moments where I have a breakthrough so that I can turn around, come back to my clients and facilitate a similar kind of breakthrough. Like, it's our job as coaches to stay inspired and to stay like constantly on a path of growth. And part of that growth means sometimes there's lows and sometimes there's highs. And travel is one of the ways that I have found my ability to access that, like, pretty consistently.
Yeah, me too.
And it creates a sense of limitlessness too, because when we're in the same community, environment, sphere, day in and day out, then it's easy to loop on habits, stories, people. But when you get out of that bubble, you're like, wait a second. So much is possible. There are so many people out there. I could literally do like 1,000 different jobs. I could, like, sometimes it's a little like, whoa, should I blow up everything? Like, change my name just because I can?
Anything is possible. So one thing that keeps coming to mind is how completely different we are, and we've done human design and geeked out on that and everything. But like, I think it's 5 or the 3, I can't remember which one it is. It literally says you will come home from a trip and buy another ticket I'm like, no, on the trip, I already have bought my ticket to the next place that I'm going. Like it defined me in this way that I felt so seen. I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. But it's not everyone. Yeah. Right. And having this face that, like, turns into a Disney character or something isn't everyone. Like, and when I'm around those people, in fact, I traveled with my daughter, who is not a 7. Let's just say that. Like,
what is she? Do you know?
She's like a 1. She's
a perfectionist
and total stone. Like, her energy is cold, like very solid.
You're like, I don't want to say cold, but cold.
It's cold. This is like,
it is. That's really interesting though. Energetically, she's very statue-like.
Still. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of models are like that. A lot of leaders are like that. People that wear black suits with red ties are like that. And that's so needed in the world, right?
Totally.
And so when she was little, I just was like, oh my gosh, something's wrong. She's not bubbly and happy and talkative all the time. And I'm doing something wrong. And then I just learned her energy type. And I just went, oh, that's just who she is. And so she doesn't have to be enthusiastic about everything all the time, even though I'd really like her to be,
She's probably like, Mom, cool your jets.
Seriously. Like, how many times she rolls her eyes at me and tells me she's like a teenager and whatever. But I love how there's so many different personality types out there, and everyone's on their own path and figuring it out. And so this is for 1 or 2 of the personality types that have that. But there are key points that I think we talked about. It's like, don't go into the shame and guilt about not being the way that you think you should be, or focus on the positive, focus on what you want. You get more of what you want and what you focus on.
What you focus on. Yeah.
Yeah. So look for the strengths in your personality type. And if you are ADHD, there are those too. And to go into make yourself wrong all the time, or like, I know when I've gone into that, I haven't eaten or something, and the ADHD is just like, I really can't focus. And it's really, the more I go into, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is the shame of it, the worse it gets, right?
Yeah,
if I just go,
totally.
oh, this is funny. Like, I'm going to just go meditate for 5 minutes and take some deep breaths and drink some water. Like, that's so much better than me trying to push through it and be someone or be in a state that I'm not. So
yeah, it makes me think of Tony Robbins, what you resist persists.
Yes.
So it's like, if we are trying to like contract and hold and push something or force something, then it's only going to perpetuate. It's going to get bigger and louder and brighter and stronger than us. So like, laugh, take a breath, take a walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like release the hold, open your palm a little. I got to tell you, one of my favorite moments of Colombia was when we were at the nail salon with your daughter, and I hadn't seen her in a few years, and we're like, you and I hadn't seen each other in a while, and so we're like, ee! And then I'm literally having this out of body moment where I recognize that I'm of the age now where I'm the friend of someone's mom who's like, you're so old. I just remember when you were like 12. And she just looked at me like we're both totally insane. And I was like, we're such sevens.
And she's so not, you know?
It was so funny.
So good. It's so real.
My face hurts. For anyone who's not watching this episode on YouTube, I highly encourage you, because I literally, like, my cheeks are in pain from smiling so much. Paige's energy is so contagious.
So good. I know my face hurts too. These muscles right here, they're getting a good workout today. Yeah. So it always is with you, Kim. Thank you so much for having me on. And
tell us where they can go get information about your retreat. We'll have everything linked up in the show notes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I have a retreat in May down in Southern Utah, and it's all women's retreat. Amazing. May 15th to the 18th, so it's coming up fast. But if you go to Paige, Paige 360.com, the pop-up, it'll just be right in your face. You have to see it. So you'll see that. And then on there, you can also go to all my retreats page or my Facebook or Instagram or podcasts or whatever. So you can find all my stuff there. Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you so much,
so
Kim,
good.
for having me
You're
on.
so welcome. I appreciate you. I'm so grateful that God made our paths cross 4 years ago. Feels like longer.
Such a serendipitous way.
Yeah, 100%. Well, definitely be sure and check out the show notes, everyone. And I will be sure to link up in there Paige's original interview. She was one of our earliest episodes of The Profitable Coach as well. So we'll have that linked up in the show notes for you. And go check her out. Go follow her on Instagram. Her retreats are so wonderful. I remember a very distinct takeaway from the first one that I attended. I teach it with all my clients, and I always give you and your mentor credit because it was so powerful. And that is what I got: my business, their business, and God's business. And it's very different.
So good.
Yeah, so good.
So good.
So thank you, Paige.
Yay. Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you could feel how much fun Paige and I had recording this episode for you. And I hope that you got something out of it, because really, truly, the way to succeed in anything in life is to release any of the constriction, the contraction, the judgment, the shame that we have around how far along we are, how good we feel like we're doing, and really just lean into what do we enjoy about the process? So I hope today's conversation inspired you, enlivened you, and you go check out Paige at paige360.com and any of the other resources we talked about at theprofitablecoach.com/074. Thank you so much for listening from the bottom of my heart. I'll catch you on next week's episode.